It's no secret the Steelers quarterback room is a bit thin right now. Pittsburgh still seems to be willing to hold out hope for Aaron Rodgers, and the team still has Mason Rudolph if necessary. And then, of course, is what will they do with the 21st overall pick tomorrow? Here's Mike Tomlin with high praise for Shedeur Sanders.
I think the things that stood out were evident in this video. There's a toughness there that doesn't get talked about enough. There's a competitive spirit there that doesn't get talked about enough. I know he's very talented and has made a lot of plays for his university and his team, but the intangible qualities displayed on tape were impressive to me.
Louis Riddick joining us live from Green Bay, site of the draft. Louis, good morning. I like the blue suit. I'll get to you in just a moment. Stephen A., coming to you. This is your team, the Steelers. Did they need to nail the draft most of any team?
Well, yeah, I think so. Got to put it in perspective. Love me some Mike Tomlin, obviously. How much respect all of us have for him. Do you know the Pittsburgh Steelers have lost 6 consecutive playoff games? Do you know they set an NFL record? In each one of those games, they've trailed by at least 21 points. In all 6 consecutive playoff losses. Okay? They haven't won a playoff game since 2016. And they're the first team in the Super Bowl ever to go 8 straight seasons without a losing record, but 0 playoff wins. And you're in the same division as Cincinnati. You're in the same division as Baltimore. Joe Burrow has been able to keep his weapons. Jamar Chase, T. Higgins are staying in Cincinnati. So they putting up points. They good for 30 a game. They good for 30 a game. And you got Lamar Jackson and King Henry. You know what they bring to the table. I mean, damn. You're the Pittsburgh Steelers. You went out and you got DK Metcalf. You got Pickens, who's already a stud when he wants to play. You got Freiermuth as a tight end spot. He's one of the better tight ends in the National Football League. You lost Najee Harris, but you kept Warren. And, oh, by the way, your offensive line has improved. It's really just about a quarterback. So, to me, when I think about the NFL draft, here's the bottom line for me with the Steelers. If you don't get a quarterback, you failed. You got to find a quarterback. Now, I don't give a damn how you do it. I don't care if it's through the draft. I don't care if it's through free agency. I don't give a damn if they got to kidnap somebody, go Mission Impossible, put one of them face masks on them and change and make them look like somebody different than what they. I don't care what you got to do.
Stephen is ready to choose violence. Louis?
You got to do something to get a quarterback. It's just the truth.
Yeah, they do. They do. Look, there's a lot of things that Pittsburgh needs to get done, specifically at quarterback. And I agree with you there. I don't think they're the team that's under the most pressure in this draft, though. I think that one's easy. I think this is easily for the New York Giants and for Joe Schoen and Brian Daboll. This is, for them, a pivotal draft. Because, look, not only are they trying to build for the future, right? And you're always trying to build a sustainable winner, and that's really what the draft does. It allows you to get cheap, affordable labor, right? Guys who are on rookie contracts, develop them out for 4 and 5 years, and build towards the future. So they're trying to do that, while at the same time they understand that, hey, look, man, we got to win this year because of how things have transpired over the past couple of years, namely last year with Saquon going to Philadelphia. Look, they will. The image will be burned in all of our heads, the way in which John Mara talked to Joe Schoen in his room that day when they were trying to figure out what to do with Saquon Barkley, and the way in which he basically pleaded with him to please do not mess this up. Please do not not have him come back here and have him go somewhere else and wind up ripping it up and have us all sitting here looking like fools, which is exactly what they did. So I think now that he has really given them the directive that, look, we need to find a franchise quarterback. Let's move on from the Saquon Barkley part of this. We need to find a franchise quarterback in this draft or somewhere down the line. We need to find one. And now that they have signed Russell Wilson, now that they have Jameis Winston, now that who knows what they're going to do with the number 3 overall pick, more than likely not pick a franchise quarterback. And if they don't pick a franchise quarterback there, whoever they do pick, whether it's Abdul or Travis, you have to nail that pick. You have to nail that pick. That pick has to be a yellow jacket type of pick, a Hall of Famer type of pick. And then they still have to address the quarterback position. And then they still have to deal, when you're talking about the division, Stephen A., they have to deal with the reigning and defending champions, a Washington team that's on the rise now, and a Dallas team that can rise up and beat anybody at any time. There's no question it's on Joe Schoen and the New York Giants.
I agree with Louis 100%. Now, remember, they had a good draft last year. And he did get a guy, Neighbors, with that first pick, 8th, whatever number he was going to be great. And he had a good, if you look at who he picked last year, he had a very good draft. So Shane has a successful 2024. Listen, I disagree with Lewis about Sanders. This is a weak quarterback class. The Giants picked, and the Browns, they picked the wrong year to be bad when they needed a quarterback. This is a weak quarterback class. And so I think the Giants have sensed, and they could be wrong. I know Lewis loves them. They could be wrong. They have sensed that Sanders is not good enough to be selected 3 over Abdul Carter or Hunter. So they're going to take one of those two, whoever's left over. And then the Giants are going to see where everybody else falls. And when they have the 34th pick in the draft, they will, if they want the kid from Mississippi, if Sanders goes all the way down that low in the first round, maybe the Louisville quarterback, the Giants will figure out a way to get a quarterback with that second-round pick. But the Giants and Cleveland pick bad years when you have to have a quarterback. They feel, they might be wrong, but they feel it's a weak quarterback.
I think people are sleeping on Sanders. I think Sanders is going to be very good at the NFL level, if not great. I think people are sleeping on him. You're going to tell me that Baker Mayfield can ball. If you're going to tell me that Brock Purdy can ball, don't tell me that Shedeur Sanders can't end up living to that kind of potential. I think he will. I think he'll exceed it, and I think people are underestimating him immensely.
Well, that might be correct. Now, remember, Mayfield was drafted 1. He was on 5 teams before he found a home in Tampa.
I understand.
And obviously, Purdy was the last pick in the draft. So you can get quarterbacks in other different ways.
Okay.
You think the Giants should take Sanders at 3?
I wouldn't mind if they did because they desperately need a quarterback.
You know what's
Well, go ahead.
Lewis,
Go ahead, Lewis.
last word here, then I'm going to move it forward.
You know what's so interesting to me about Shedeur Sanders is, look, most of the conversation surrounding him, if you ask anybody why they don't like him, it's hard for them to figure out a way to really blow holes in him with his play on the field. This is about a personal issue that people have with him. That's what it is. This is all off the field type of stuff, personality, how he comes off, how he presents himself, whatever it is that rubs people the wrong way. Because if you're talking about decision-making, accuracy, movement in the pocket, protecting the football, enough horsepower to drive the football at all 3 levels, the amount of stuff that was put on him pre-snap in terms of him being able to change protections, change route combinations, decipher what coverages are post-snap, you can't blow holes in him in that way. You can't. You just can't. And people with his profile, his specific physical profile and mental profile, have had tremendous careers. So if someone could just make a credible argument to me about what it is that they don't like about his physical traits and how he plays the position, I'd love to hear it.
Well,
I'd love to hear it.
One, Lewis, now I don't know, I'm not an expert. You are. One is the 99 sacks that he took as a player. And number 2, everybody.
Do you know how bad his offensive line was? Do you know how many free runners he had coming at him? He had at a rate that no other quarterback in the FBS had coming at him. See, these are the kind of nuanced statistics that people ignore. They just look at the sacks and go, see, he holds the ball too long.
Lewis, hold on, because I got a question. I'm not debating with you. I got a question.
Yeah.
I get where you're coming from. I suspect you're right. We're hearing anonymous evaluators in the National Football League to use the example of the offensive line, which we all saw. We all saw him getting slaughtered, particularly last year, more so than this past season when they were 4-8, okay? We've seen him get beat up, and they're saying it's primarily because he holds on to the football too long. I don't believe that, but this is what NFL evaluators are saying. Anonymously, of course.
And you know what?
What do you make of that? What do you make of that?
Of course, and then you know what they say right after that? When they say he holds on to the ball too long, then they call him check down Charlie when he does decide to get rid of the ball quick. And then Pat Shurmur is calling wide receiver screens so he doesn't get slaughtered. Then they go, see, he can't push the ball down the field. See, he doesn't have enough arm strength. It's like, well, pick which one you want. When he does try to hold on to the football, when he is trying to find Travis and Jimmy Horn down the field, and his offensive line isn't giving him more than 2.5 seconds to try and find someone down the field, then you're saying he's holding on to the ball too long. Which one do you want? If you personally don't like him, which we also hear the anonymous people say, he's just so entitled. Who does he think he is? Then just say that's what it is. It's cool. I mean, people don't like everybody. But when you start picking and choosing,
I don't think that's what it is. I just want to be on the record. I've said this before, and I'll say it again, Doggy. I'll say it right in front of you. I believe that Shedeur Sanders, people don't want the thought of having to deal with him because that's dealing with his dad. In other words, Your dad's going to be in your ear. Your dad's going to talk to you. Your dad is one of the greatest athletes who have ever lived and is obviously highly accomplished and knows football inside and out. So as a result, him listening to him, he's going to ask questions. He's not going to just take instructions, just because you say so. He's going to question. He's going to challenge your football intellect. And obviously, they'll know where that comes from, because if that was my dad, all right, and I had that kind of background and I had that kind of pedigree to lean on, that makes it more challenging for me to get somebody to march lockstep with what I want them to do if I'm not him. I think that's what this is about. They just can't admit it.
Also true.
Steve,
Yep.
Steve, there has got to be a team in the NFL that needs a quarterback, Pittsburgh included, that if they thought Sanders was that good, would figure out a way to get him. The Browns, the Giants, the Saints, Pittsburgh, the Raiders got Geno Smith.
I would say to you,
there's got to be a team.
You've been around covering sports long enough to know that what has been pervasive in the world of professional sports is that we've got a lot of executives who are of the mindset, I really don't want to deal with this problem, as opposed to making the best decision.
We just spent time with Pittsburgh. They need a quarterback.
No, Tomlin will do it.
Okay, well, why don't you make a trade then to make sure he gets him?
Let's see what happens. But
Maybe he will. They've got the 21st overall pick, 6 picks in the draft. Well, let's wait and see what happens. Maybe one of these teams will take him. That's why it's all very exciting. Tomorrow on ESPN.
A big speculation has just emerged that is shaking up the NFL market. Kirk Cousins' future is on the line, and according to rumors, the Steelers, Browns, and Vikings are among the teams that may be involved in a trade. But what's really happening behind the scenes? I'll tell you all the details about this potential deal, including what might be influencing the decisions and how this could impact the future of several teams in the league. Stay tuned to understand what could be one of the most interesting transactions of the season. Before we dive into the details of this blockbuster trade, it's important to mention a factor that could have a direct impact on this deal: the role of contract clauses and Kirk Cousins' demands. The main issue here is that Cousins has a no-trade clause, which means he has the power to veto any potential trade. Additionally, he may be reluctant to move to a team with a young quarterback, which was one of the points highlighted in his last experience with the Falcons. This could completely change the dynamics of the offers being made to him. Now, let's understand the implications of this potential trade. What's really at stake is Kirk Cousins' future, which could be traded, but only if he agrees to the move. ESPN revealed that the Steelers and Vikings are the main teams that could pay up to $10 million of the remaining value of Cousins' contract. This would help the Falcons relieve salary cap pressure, but the impact on the future of the franchise is still uncertain. What is known is that if the trade happens, it could be as soon as next Saturday, which adds even more pressure to the negotiations. If the Steelers manage to secure the quarterback, they could strengthen their roster even more, but this would also make the market for Aaron Rodgers even tighter. And now, we want to hear your opinion. Do you think the Steelers or Vikings would make the right choice by investing in Kirk Cousins? Or do you believe the Browns, with Stefanski's connection, would be the best fit for him? Leave your opinion in the comments, and let's keep this discussion going. Now, let's get to the breaking news just released. We're talking about a potential Kirk Cousins trade that could change the course of the season for many NFL teams. Stay tuned, because what's coming promises to stir up even more behind-the-scenes action in the league. The big news is that the Falcons are ready to trade Kirk Cousins, and the Steelers, Browns, and Vikings are in the running to acquire him. The situation, however, isn't so simple. With the no-trade clause in Cousins' contract, he has complete control over his destiny. The expectation is that he will only agree to a trade to a team with an experienced QB, avoiding a situation like the one he had in Atlanta. The impact of a trade could be significant, both for the team acquiring Cousins and for the market options for other quarterbacks, like Aaron Rodgers. If this trade really happens, the consequences could be deep for the NFL. For the Falcons, it would mean finally clearing cap space and perhaps giving a new direction to their rebuilding strategy. For the interested teams, like the Steelers and Vikings, it would be an opportunity to add an experienced quarterback, but with significant costs, both financially and in terms of compensation. Additionally, this could alter the dynamics of other quarterbacks available in the market, such as Aaron Rodgers, who would have even fewer options, potentially complicating market moves. Now, we want to hear from you. In your opinion, which team would be the best destination for Kirk Cousins? Would the Steelers improve with him, or are the Vikings already in a more advantageous position? And if the trade really happens, do you think Cousins will fit in as efficiently as expected? Leave your opinion in the comments. We want to know what you think about this potential move. Stay tuned for more news about Kirk Cousins' future and all the moves shaking up the NFL. In the coming days, decisions could directly impact the course of the season. See you in the next video with more hot updates.